You got me right before we started. Hello, and welcome to the 83rd gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 22nd of September, 2017. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and be willing to share oh, Jesus wept. I can't type to save my frickin' life. Be willing to share RPG-related things that you are doing while you are gathered at the meeting table, and perhaps I should just stop writing them ahead of time.
Sure.
I don't know. I got to come up with some kind of solution for that. Hey, this meeting of the Adventure Party is brought to you by our patron partners, Brian Jensen, Amy Cantwell, Amy Frost, Growly Bear, Jackie Hearn, and J.F. Dubois. You may have heard of him. We'll tell you a little bit more on how you can become a partner with the Galactic Netcast Network, but first, Glenn, it's been a while. I've missed you. How are you?
You too. I've been pretty good. Been lazy the last couple of weeks. I've been on vacation doing F all.
You know, sometimes you just gotta do nothing.
Yeah, I have. Every time I take my 2-week vacation, I'm like, I'm going to do this and this and this and catch up on my reading and my miniature painting. And you know, on day 12, I'm like, well, I did none of that. I'll paint 4 minis. That counts, right? Actually, I painted 12 minis.
What?
Which, yeah, that's more.
For as much as you hate painting miniatures.
Well, I mean, and that's roughly 1% of what I need to get done for me. Because I keep buying them.
Yeah, I actually want to tell you a little bit about something that former guest and our friend Rob Benton and I have been working on. And for those of you who are checking us out on YouTube, you'll be able to see an image of what we've been working on. If I can find the thing. Damn it. There we go. There it is. All right, fellow YouTubers. If you are, oh, for the love of Pete. Now I have to find my control. Okay, there we go. So this is something that Rob and I have been working on. Now, I'm a big fan of the YouTube channel Luke's APS. Luke is from the UK, and he paints miniatures, makes terrain. He's a big miniature wargamer, and whether it's 40K, and he does a thing with Beers of War. He has a lot of experience with painting, and he has taught himself a lot of the ins and outs of miniature painting. And one of the things that he did, and he likes to make sure that things are affordable, because, you know, he's spending time painting miniatures for folks, making terrain for folks, and he wants to make sure that he gets a good quality job done, but not spend a lot of money. He's looking at his bottom line. He wants to get the best quality out for the least amount of investment on his part. And he did a 2-video series where he showed you how to make a good craft paint thinner. Now, when I say craft paint, I mean if you go to your local craft store, be it a Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever local craft store that you have, and they have the, you know, like the plastic squeezable tubes of or containers of acrylic paint. It's a little too thick to use well on a miniature. Your coats get too thick, you lose a lot of detail, and while there's a great range of colors that you can get, they are 1/5 of the cost of what you would pay for, actually more than 1/5 of the cost of like a Citadel miniatures paint set. I got 12. I don't know if they're ½ ounce or 1 ounce pots of paint from Citadel. I got a sprue cutter with it. I got one paintbrush, and I got a small square plastic sheet of terrain grass that you would put on the base of a miniature to, simulate like they're standing on a grassy area or something like that. That set cost me $60 for 12 paints, the brush, the sprue cutter, and the grass bits. Now, if you are on YouTube right now and you are looking at this, this is a $5 toolbox that I bought at Harbor Freight. What you see are 15 millimeter squeeze bottles that I got on Amazon. I could not find a local supply place that had 15 milliliter squeeze bottles, so I couldn't keep it local, unfortunately. Inside of it, each one of these squeeze bottles is a 8 millimeter ball bearing, so you can easily mix up the paints. And with that weight, if your paint settles at the bottom, that weight, if you shake it vigorously enough, that ball bearing's going to get right through it and mix it up really quick. And there are 50 colors that we put together in this. And the thinning solution, and I'm not doing this justice. You really need to check out Luke's APS Google YouTube channel. Hello, waking up here. And get the recipe here. But this set of 50 colors here, I may have invested. Well, these are Rob's paints that we thinned down, but all said, this whole kit of 50 colors is less than $60. I mean, it's yeah, an incredible difference from 12 colors to have 50 colors. And the nice thing about the squeeze bottles versus the pots, or the small plastic canisters of paint, is, and I have a bad habit of popping one open and leaving it open, and by God, if they don't dry up within a relatively short period of time. The nice thing about the squeeze bottles is you basically open the cap, squeeze out a little bit, you close the cap, and that's just kind of a pre-programmed thing. That's just what you do. You're less prone to wasting your paint, and because you are keeping it sealed, obviously it's going to last a longer time. So it's absolutely brilliant. Those craft paints that we're buying, we spent 79 cents per color. We ended up picking up 4 more because after we went through all of Rob's paint colors, he had 46 and we had 50 bottles. And we realized that we really needed like a darker red and a couple other colors to fill out that 50, to fill them all. And so we've got a really wide variety of colors that we can do a lot with. For a very economical cost. I'm very happy with what we spent on this and what we got out of it. And we didn't use like the whole squeeze bottle of paint. So we could refill each of these 15 milliliter containers repeatedly, at least 3 or 4 times. And, we've still just spent that initial outlay of about $50. So it's a hell of a deal when you look at the long term on this. So yeah, if you get the chance, I can't recommend Luke's APS YouTube channel enough. He's got a lot of great ideas on how to make really cool stuff at a really decent cost. So I am going to switch back and we are going to continue on with our show. But I just had to go over that because that's something that I've been wanting to do with Rob for a while, and we've been like, yeah, we'll get to it. And finally, I'm like, we should do it now because winter's coming. We're probably going to want to paint because we're not going to be wanting to screw around outside anymore. So, and God knows he and I collectively have purchased so many miniatures at this point that are still unpainted after. I've got some that I still are unpainted when I purchased them in like in the late 90s. So yeah, I got a lot of painting to do. So there you go. Well, enough about that, Glenn.
Okay.
We should move on to the rest of our show. We always do a game review, which Glenn so generously provides us with. We do a little bit of gaming news, and then we just kind of chit chat about a topic. We don't have a guest this time out, so we're just gonna kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. What game do you have for us this time?
I have brought Magic Maze. This is from Sit Down, and designer is Casper Lapp. It is for one-day players, plays in about 3 to 15 minutes, and retails for $33. Basic gist of the game is you have a mage, a warrior, an elf, and a dwarf who have lost all of their possessions and have to go rob the local Magic Maze shopping mall for the equipment they need for their next adventure. It is a real-time co-op game. Every player controls all 4 heroes. However, depending on the number of players you have, determines what you can do with the heroes. Because there are specific actions. There is the move north, move east, move west, move south, use an escalator, use a teleporter, and explore a new tile. As you each edge of a tile, you can explore to fill up a new tile. So say we're playing the 2 of us, Brad.
Okay.
You might be responsible for moving north, moving west, escalators, and exploring, while I do the other movements and the teleporters. So we cannot talk while we're doing this.
Oh.
So we flip over a stand timer. We have to start paying attention to what needs to be done. There is a really big red wooden-like guy that I can slam in front of you when you are not paying attention and you need to do one of your actions. But I can't like point. I can't talk. I can't point to the board and, like point at the elf where you should move him south. I can just kind of like stomp this little thing and like, hey, kind of trying to get your attention of the stomp, stomp, stomp. You need to do something. And as the board gets bigger, it's hard to figure out what you need to do. Now,
Sure.
If the timer ever runs out, you lose. On the board, there are little timer symbols on the board where if you move an adventurer onto a timer, you flip the timer over. But you have to time this. You have to time this correctly, because if you do it too soon, you don't stop and flip it. It's just you flip it over, which means if you do it too soon, you have now given yourself less time. So you want to cut it as close as possible so you can flip it over to give yourself more time. And when you first flip it over, you can talk and plan things out. But once someone starts moving a pawn again, you can't talk anymore. And once all 4 adventurers have reached their specific equipment choices, corresponding to their colors, you then flip over this little thing, say that the theft has now begun. All teleporters now do not work, and you must get the 4 guys to the exit before time runs out.
Oh.
And to make it even more challenging is that when you use things like teleporters, or when you stop the timer and flip it over, that little area you stepped on becomes out of order, and you can't use that same one again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The game comes with everything you need to play, but it comes pre-packed with 17 different scenarios. So the most basic one, you use the first, I believe it's the first 10 tiles. First 9, I believe. And there's 1 exit. Then when you go to the next scenario, the second one, you add 3 more tiles. Now each hero has not only to get to their own equipment, they each need to get out in their own exit.
Oof.
And then you've got other things that add. There's one of my favorites is it's the one called "You Have Beautiful Eyes." Now you cannot use the big "I need to get your attention" piece. You can only stare at people when you need them to do something.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's super fun. I ran it today at the con. We played it once, and they kind of understood, and we cheated a lot because they kept pointing at stuff. So then we're like, okay, that played really quick. That's less than 10 minutes. And I said, yeah, and we cheated a lot, and we won the first one. So they're like, oh, right, let's play again. So then we played it again. Actually, we played it 4 times. So then we played that level again, and then lost, but we were close. So then we're like, well, let's play one other scenario. So then we added the other exits, which they did not quite fully understand. So we had to play it a 4th time, and we lost. So we lost 3 of the 4 games, and they wanted to play more, but by that point, I had another game I had to run, so I couldn't. But we got in 4 games. I taught the game, played 4 games in under an hour.
Nice.
The solo game, which I have played more than a dozen times now and have yet to win, is you have a stack of all the different movements. Each one is single. So there's one token for move north, one for south, one for escalator, etc. And you have them in a stack. And using one hand from the table, you can flip the top one over and do any actions you want from that one. And then when you keep going through the stack, and you can't go back to the ones you already had until you get to the whole stack, then you start over from the top again. So it gets really hard when I need to move west and then north when north is before west in the stack. Because now I have to go past north, get to west, finish going through the whole stack to get back to the top so I can then get to north. But it's so much fun. And the other scenarios just add so many different challenges. There's one that's where it's just the guards are suspicious. So you can't have more than one adventurer on a single tile other than the start tile the whole game. So yeah, you know, so it's a lot of maneuvering, and especially paying attention to the timer, because you'll be like, you need someone to get to a timer and they are not seeing what they have to do. And you're slamming that giant wood guy on like, in front of them. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Move the elf north so I can move him west to the timer. That's what we need to do. And you're like pounding in front of them, then you pound in front of the timer, not also realizing that by pounding the table right by the sand timer, you're probably making the sand go through faster. So it's just a ton of fun.
Yeah, actually, I think that we have this game. We just got it in our library, and I know that we gave it as a gift to mutual friends of ours, the Baltzell family. And they absolutely love that game. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. I do definitely want to play it. I wasn't able to. I was building Legos with Alex at the time, so I didn't get into the game, but I will most certainly play that. Again, what does it retail for?
$33.
Wow, that's nothing. Yeah. For a game that offers that much entertainment, is highly replayable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a hell of a deal. Nice. Well, thank you for that, Glenn. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Hey, I want to talk about, our friends at Die Hard Dice. Todd and his crew have definitely resupplied all of their stock. And they've got some great glow in the dark dice that they've got an electric blue set, and they've got a toxic green set, and not D6s. I'm talking like a full RPG set of 7. They have so many different things, poly dice, metal dice, good quality stuff, low cost. They've got their dice trays are back in stock. And the nice thing about them is that they are collapsible. So they snap, the corners snap together. So you could put it in a folder or something. Very easy to put into a backpack and travel with, because it will kind of just come apart. So please go to dieharddice.com and you can use the coupon code at the time of checkout. Whoa, here we go. Adventure Party, all one word, Adventure Party. And you can get 10% off of your full order. So check them out, dieharddice.com. All right. Well, Halloween's right around the corner, so I found a good story about an RPG game that we know as Call of Cthulhu. Now, they are about to be releasing a... Well, they've been working on it for a couple of years now, but it sounds that they're very close now for a Call of the Cthulhu PC game, which I'm really, really excited for. I'm going to quick take a look and see if I can find the release date. It is, well, they're talking this year. And this year is winding down. Worldwide, it's going to be 2018. It looks like it's okay. So they're looking to, they're releasing it for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, fourth quarter of 2017. Nope. However, they just delayed it to 2018. And no specifics as to which quarter. Crap. I know that they've been working on it for quite some time. It's using the Unreal Engine 4, which is absolutely gorgeous. Every game that I've seen that uses that is absolutely beautiful. Here is the story, and this is kind of told from the point of view of the writer from Gizmodo, Australia. Here we go. All-time masterpiece RPG Call of Cthulhu will never die. Lovecraftian horror is something I only really discovered earlier this year. Sure, I'd seen the superhero episodes of South Park, where Cartman teams up with a My Neighbor Totoro style Cthulhu. But it wasn't until recently that I started diving into these stories and mythos, as well as the legacy that they left behind. One of my favorite ways the now public domain subgenre has continued to this day is the Lovecraftian role-playing game. Over the past several weeks, I've been highlighting different amazing horror games, and early on, I promised to showcase a Lovecraftian role-playing game. You've got Cthulhu Tech, a futuristic Lovecraftian tale set after the apocalypse. Have you ever played Cthulhu Tech?
I've not played it. I've looked at some of the stuff, though. But I've not played it yet.
Yeah, I've played a few sessions of it. It's a really kind of a cool spin. It's not like, what is it, Alpha Green? It's very different. It actually has like mechs. There's actual mech combat with it, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And then there are some that haven't been released yet, like Unspeakable, Sigil and Sign, where players take on the role of devout cultists, which we highlighted on Kickstarter Spotlight, as I recall, and is set to come out next year. There's one that rises above them all, the truest of the old ones, and that's Call of Cthulhu. Now, Call of Cthulhu, the RPG, that's been around for, let me just...
weeks. I mean, at least.
Yeah. No, it was released in 1981. Sandy Peterson. Sandy Peterson is releasing a Pathfinder Call of Cthulhu. That was a Kickstarter that they did a while back, and they're finishing up and publishing it soon. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Call of Cthulhu has been around for decades and for good reason. Here we go. Created by Sandy Peterson, it's widely considered one of the best role-playing games ever created. Not only for its interesting storylines, but also for how it subverts the typical RPG genre. Unlike games like Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu is about pain and loss. And wow, is there a lot of it if you do it right. You're always outmatched, outclassed, and overwhelmed by the threats you face, and the rewards usually aren't dropping loot, kingdoms saved, or love everlasting. Yeah, if you go through a session of Call of Cthulhu and your character has all of its sanity intact, you haven't played it right. Let's see. Rather, the true reward is in doing the right thing, no matter the cost. I think I told you the story about playing. I was the last person to survive in a game that I played. I had my arms cut off, and I was put in a chair and told, "Yep, this is the end of the world. Nothing you can really do about it." And I figured out what the big bad was, the focusing thing, and I ended up having to jump through basically a mystic focusing sort of a stained glass window setup that was being used to channel these evil powers. And yeah, I fell to my death, but I saved the world. Yay me.
Better than my last time.
What happened?
I had a guy who survived 3 separate adventures without being horribly maimed or driven insane.
Really?
We took a roughly year-long break from Call of Cthulhu, come back to school next semester, and the guy's like, I want to start running Call of Cthulhu again. We're like, great, we loved it. Let's play. He goes, all right. You were all gathered together after learning about the murder of your old friend. I'm like, don't you dare say it. And he's like, Dr. Renworth. I'm like, you son of a bitch. He was out. He was free. He survived, and you killed him.
Yeah. It's a hell of a game. Can't recommend it enough. During the game, players take on the role of investigators trying to solve otherworldly mysteries. It could be a haunted clubhouse, a mysterious creature lurking in a park, or the attempted rising of an underground aquatic evil. The official version from Chaosium is on its 7th edition, and the website hosts several different versions and storylines to play, including Horror on the Orient Express, a massive group campaign spanning continents containing up to 19 adventures. I want to do that.
Yeah. Dr. Randy and Gretchen and I were drilling over that at Gen Con.
Yeah, I bet. In addition, there are dozens of additional scenarios that outside writers and fans have created, many of which are available for free online. If you've got some favorites of your own, be sure to leave links in the comments to the story. We will have the story in the or the link to the story in the show notes here. While Call of Cthulhu can sound daunting, given its decades of history and devoted fan base, it's actually one of the easiest games to pick up for those who haven't played RPGs before. For example, the official Quick Start version, which you can download for free as a PDF, comes with instructions designed to help newcomers navigate creating their first investigator. For anyone who's been thinking about dipping their toes into role-playing games or wants the perfect Halloween event, and this would be excellent for it, to terrify their friends, you really can't get better than Call of Cthulhu. At this point, he's basically out there calling your name. Open up the tome, say the words, and let me in. I promise you won't regret it. Or will you?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great memories playing Call of Cthulhu. And, you know, quite honestly, when you first start playing Dungeons and Dragons, you don't know all the monsters that you could possibly meet up with. So, I mean, the same thing applies there. Don't be daunted by the, I think Call of Cthulhu was written in the early 20s, 21, something like that. So,
Yeah,
I
something
mean,
like that.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that has been written by Lovecraft himself and August Derleth and all sorts of other contemporaries that participated and added to that whole mythos. But don't get daunted by that. Same thing applies for D&D. A lot of people have contributed a lot of things, and it's still fun. And yeah, the whole tone of Call of Cthulhu is so different than the quote unquote standard RPG game. Um, People in your party will die. NPCs will die. That's just a whole. That's how the game just. Well, that's how the whole mythos sort of runs. It's like the whole underlying theme to Lovecraft, the way I understand it, is there's stuff that you shouldn't know. And if you are so driven to find it out, there is a terrible cost for it. And you will never be the same again. And that definitely rolls over into this RPG, which is what makes it so wonderful and so unique. So if you get a chance to play Call of Cthulhu, don't pass it up, because it is something you will remember for quite a long time. All right. If you enjoy Adventure Party and would like to do more than just subscribe, please consider becoming a partner with us. Now, I mentioned some of the names of our partners at the beginning of the show. You can go to gncasts.com/support and click on the Patreon link. Patreon link. We have different levels, all with rewards at $1, $3, and $5 a month. You can get your name mentioned on our show, receive a bonus podcast, which comes out monthly, which podcaster Peter Fisher is providing for us, which is really cool. And or you can even have a whole message read by one of us. Again, to become a partner with us, go to gncasts.com/support. On to the Kickstarter Spotlight. Last time, you brought us... No!
No?
What the what? Last time we talked about Zero Gravity, a magnetic miniatures game.
What?
Yeah, that's what I said. They canceled it, even though they had raised just under 45,000 euro. And that was their original pledge goal was 25,000 euro. Yeah, they canceled it.
Yep.
That's a tragedy. I'm gonna click here and see if they've got.
So yeah, they have an update about the whole. They're going to restart the campaign.
Yeah.
Due to a lot of feedback that they got.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So they're like, we're going to have a better list of what exactly is going on. I guess they're going to do a better stretch goal map, and they're revising the rules, revising the campaign graphics. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, they are trying to do. There's a lot of people and this is not like a majority. I don't know if it's a majority, but there's a fair number of games on Kickstarter that look awesome, and they are awesome, but they're made once and then they disappear because they are not. A lot of people, if they haven't done this type of stuff before, they're just looking at, I want to get my game made. And they're not looking at the fact that, well, I want lots of people to buy my game after this one time, which means you have to make more than just what you're going to have in your initial Kickstarter. You want to have enough where you can generate a big enough buzz where now you can have maybe just distribution going, yeah, we'll take 1,000 copies of your game. You want to get game stores possibly pre-ordering stuff, which will then, if the stores get interest, then distributors might say, yeah, okay, we'll take some copies. So they want to make a game that's going to last beyond just the Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
yeah, that takes a lot of balls to basically, stop doing something that met its goal and beyond its goal, and say, well, we could do better. That had to be very painful to have to do. But when it comes back round again here, I think we'll highlight it again when it comes back up. And then we can kind of compare the things that they changed from when we first talked about it. Well, that's sad, but something good's gonna come out of it, it sounds like. All right. Well, on that note, we will move on and talk about The Ruins of Glendale Village. And it is tabletop gaming terrain.
What? No, I used to work there.
At Nord Games?
In Glendale.
Stop. All right. Okay. So basically you can get tabletop terrain for about $25. That's their unpainted terrain. We'll get into the details here. Nord Games is proud to announce a new line of miniature terrain sets designed for tabletop RPGers and wargamers. Using assets from Hearst Arts, which we've talked about in the past, we are creating a range of master molds to cast solid plaster pieces. This means the final product is far more durable than an assembled piece which has been glued together. We are using Merlin's Magic Plaster in order to achieve top quality product while still keeping prices low when compared to similar resin products. Both painted and unpainted sets are available, as well as add-ons on Kickstarter, exclusive models which will be unlocked through stretch goals. All right, so they are looking for 5,000. That is their goal. They are currently at just under 13,000 with 30 days to go. So it's looking pretty good here. Let's see. Fulfillment will begin shortly after the Kickstarter ends. So that means delivery. Let's see. It ends November 21st, which means they're looking to have it out before the end of December, which that's awesome. Their first shipments will begin in December 2017, which means many of you will get this reward in time for Christmas. Fulfillment will take several months depending on how many backers we get. If we reach enough funding to justify hiring more people in order to keep up with deliveries, we will do so. Now, I am going to, for our YouTube viewers, switch my screen so that you can... There we go. See what we're talking about here. Yeah. So if you get the painted stuff, it looks like they they painted and then put a little bit of flocking on there to give the illusion of moss, which is kind of nice. And they have multiple sets. They have the shacks and guard tower, and then they've got abandoned church. And these are like the abandoned church is a set of 6 columns and then partial walls that look like they could be a part of a church. They've got set 3, which is houses and huts, and then set 4, which is low walls and rubble. What is her starts? It's the best thing going for making making terrain ever. When we had Dr. Randy Wolfmeyer on, he used her starts to make his massive castle that you had in your store for quite some time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it was a sight to behold, to be sure. And if you go back to, I'm trying to remember what episode that he was on. I think it was within the first. It was within the first 10. So if you go back in the playlist on YouTube, or find the audio version of it, I highly recommend the video version. But you can see Randy's castle, and it is truly magnificent. Uh, they use Merlin's magic plaster, which let's see. Yeah, it's a really dense plaster,
Yeah.
which I'm guessing is probably a really finely ground plaster powder, which allows for a really great quality. And let's see. Yeah, the unpainted versus the painted. If you're checking this out, the unpainted looks kind of bluish, and if they paint it, it's the way they paint it, it's dark gray blocks of rock. I think you could use it unpainted and get the point across and not feel bad about it at all.
And these are fairly easy to paint.
Yeah, they're not overly intricate.
No.
Each of the pieces, doesn't matter which of the 4 sets you get. You're not going to be painting, like trying to paint faces or eyeballs on anything, which is always a treat. But this is, larger pieces of terrain, which basically, one base coat color, a wash and a dry brush, and a little bit of flocking if you want to give the illusion of moss, and you're done. I'm saying that, and it sounds oversimplified, but it's not nearly as intricate and time consuming as painting a humanoid or some kind of figure that has multiple colors on it and tiny places that you have to paint. It goes rather quickly. Now, they do have add-on bits, which include a cellar entrance, a lookout. Oh man, they're cracking through some goals here. They've got, let's see, a fortified wall. They'll have a fountain, a shrine, an altar, and a fireplace. Those are their planned stretch goals. And the fireplace is when they get up to 65,000. At the pace they're running at, they could get there. They're doing pretty good, and they still have 30 days. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, so if you are looking for affordable terrain and aren't afraid to paint something, or if you have extra cash to purchase pre-painted miniature terrain for a fantasy setting, or perhaps Warhammer 40K, I think would fit pretty well with this type of terrain. This could be for you. And if you get in at $25, you get one unpainted set of your choice, which is one of the 4 that we mentioned. And you could spend $45 and get one set that is painted. You could go up to, let's see, $100 will get you the 4 unpainted sets, and $135 gets you the 3 sets that are painted. If you want to get all 4, that's $180, and that is their top level, $180, and that will get you a lot of terrain, which, in the grand scheme of things, for painted terrain, that's kind of reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what is the one big terrain company? I can't remember their name right now. Shoot.
Big game company.
they're really they're like, if you want high quality terrain, you're going to pay for it, but it's really
Oh,
beautiful.
Dwarven Forge.
Dwarven Forge, thank you.
Yes.
You're going to spend a lot more than that to get something equivalent. But granted, I think Dwarven Forge is all resin, correct?
Yeah.
So, and they're using a high quality plaster, but it's costs a lot less than resin does. So, yeah, if you're into painted terrain, you might want to check out the Kickstarter of The Ruins of Glendale Village by Nord Games. And that is our spotlight for this week. All right, now to discuss stuff. I wrote down an idea of what we're going to talk about, and that is kind of letting go and relaxing while you're role-playing someone who is not you. You know, especially if it's your first time gaming. I know my first time, I thought, it's really kind of nerdy to talk like somebody else. I don't think I can do that. And now it's much easier to do, and that kind of comes with, I think, experience and probably getting comfortable with the group of people that you're playing with. But that's different for everybody, I think. At what point do you think you really got comfortable enough to just kind of let go and just be the character that you've created? And we're talking about tabletop RPGs, just to be clear.
Yeah. It was pretty easy for me.
Or LARPing, sorry.
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy for me because before I got to tabletop, playing with like my G.I. Joe guys and my Iron Men, I had characters I created for that already. My friend and I, we had very in-depth stories for stuff, so it wasn't a huge step for me based on how I already played. Probably the biggest changes is when I got out of just your standard D&D type stuff, and I started getting, when I was in college, and I started getting into the playing games where it wasn't so much you are, hey, just go kill those orcs, or just go steal these plans from the KGB. It was when we got into a lot more of the cerebral stuff, where now we got into a lot more of the, it's not just brawn, you have to be smart. And that can be challenging for a lot of people because it's not simply, depending on who's running the game. Now it's I can't just say I'm a smart person. I have to at least try to role play it a bit where I'm at least making it look like I'm trying to use my brain. I'm not saying I have to be able to actually, defuse a nuclear bomb, but I have to be smart enough to know that my character could do something like that. That took a bit more. So when I got into the more cerebral stuff is more of the, where I had more of an issue at first.
Mm-hmm.
It was also the separating. I think the hardest thing for me was the separating myself from the character.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things I know that my character is not. When, when I was playing D&D in the early days, because I had the books before any of my friends did. So then they said, oh, you come across this creature that, bursts out of the ground and it's like 12 feet long. And I'm like, oh, so it's a boulette. I know this. My level 2 podunk moron paladin doesn't know what a boulette is. So I can't be like, oh, well, it's like, I know how many hit points this thing has. I know that a gelatinous cube has a weakness to fire. And yeah, I do. But, level 1, elf who's never been underground before in his life has no idea that you can burn a gelatinous cube with a torch. So that was the harder thing for me, was letting go of my own connection, of my knowledge. The meta part of it was the big thing. Just enjoying being the character, I could do that all day.
Yeah, and that really kind of, I think, comes, at least it came for me, with just practice and experience. it's like being, and we talked to the cast of LARPs, and we talked about improv and how gaming is an RPG is a bit of improv, and I think part of being good at improv is being comfortable with yourself and the group of people that you're with.
Yeah.
And I think, especially of our friends and other people that I've met who have done theater in grade school, high school, college, definitely more comfortable hopping into a role that is not themselves. And even some of our friends who haven't done theater and have done improv have no trouble doing that. I did not have that background. And good Lord, as a teenager, I was something else. Wasn't a part of any group per se. Certainly not theater. I was interested in it, but I never really went for it. So, like, I'm trying to think. My first LARP that I attended was a real trip, but it was like I was at a college that I knew maybe one or two people. So it was like, I'll never see these people again. What the hell? And it was easy, but it was nice to have that under my belt, because then when I moved back to this area and fell in with the LARP group in Stevens Point, I'd had that experience, and I was more comfortable doing it. But doing like tabletop and not, especially the metagaming aspect, I think that can be really difficult, especially, if like, for me, if somebody were to run a White Wolf setting game, I've run White Wolf before. I know a lot of the, if you've played Vampire, if you played Werewolf, if you played Wraith, if you played all these different games, you'll probably know what some of the big bads are that you can run into, and you've got to try to not metagame and, try to just like intuit something that, oh, they're afraid of this. And, if this is your first time, if you're playing like a monster hunter, if it's your first time encountering a werewolf, how are you going to know how to defeat that, or a proper way to, stake a vampire or whatever? You have to be willing to, I think, not have the attitude of winning gaming.
Sure.
and just enjoy and trust in the person that's telling the story, along with the group of people you're hanging with. So, speaking along those lines, we've been playing a game. I think we've talked about it a little bit. Called Mutant Year Zero, which is Modifius imported it from, I can't remember what country. Fabulous game. And I ended up getting a copy of it, and I'm not running the game. Our friend John Maligue is, and former guest. And I read the storyteller stuff in the back, because everything is so fascinating about it. And I was thinking I would run it at some point, because it is so interesting. And actually getting into the mythos of what actually happened. It's just like mind-blowingly awesome. The person or persons who created this whole mythos, this whole storyline of what happened to Earth to get to this point where you are at in Mutant Year Zero, is absolutely amazing. And the whole thought process of how the game is structured. I'm not really giving anything away here, but the philosophy of the game is, if somebody puts in the effort to discover something, they discover something. You never roll and have a success and go, no, you didn't find anything. That doesn't happen. And it can be something very minor. It could be something major. It uses all D6s. So there's a lot of random tables in this. So there's a lot of interesting things that they've kind of thought ahead of time to provide you with. And, you know, as you get more comfortable with the game, you could probably come up with your own list of stuff or whatever. But it's just a really kind of a wonderful philosophy and structure to it. And if there's a point where you're running the game and you want to end the game, it has an end game kind of there's an end game to it. If you want to take that storyline, you can actually find out what happened, and you can, well, I don't want to give anything away, but there is an actual possible end game to this if you ever want to wrap up your group, which is really kind of cool. You can just wrap up the whole storyline and be done with it and feel satisfied, I think. And not a whole lot of games do that or provide that. So that's, I really kind of dug that. But now that I've opened Pandora's box, I can't play the game and go, oh, that's I can't. And not have it be enjoyable for everybody else. Even though my character is the smartest one in the group, I still, there are things that I just couldn't intuit. Because so many things that happened in that world are absolutely, it was a mind-blowing perfect storm that ended the world, and it's absolutely beautiful. So basically I'm saying, hey, if you get the chance, check out Mutant Year Zero. It's going to be a good investment. You're going to enjoy playing that RPG. Highly recommended. And now they've got, I think they'll be releasing their 4th like source book for it. Let me find. So Mutant Year Zero. This game has been around for 30 years, which I think is really kind of cool. It's only come to the States. I want to say Modifius has only had it for like a couple of years, maybe. It's a relatively new acquisition for them to distribute in the States. But they do have different source books, and excuse me, those are okay. So we've got Mutant Year Zero, we've got Mutant Gen Lab Alpha, we've got Mutant. Where is it? Trying to find the one with the robots. Darn it. Get back to this here. Boy, this is interesting listening right now. I apologize, folks. Yeah, I'm not finding the full list here. Shoot. Yeah, well, they have a Gen Lab Alpha. They've got the one with basically pre-apocalypse robots that still exist. And they have, shoot, I know that they have another one, and I think that there's a 4th one coming out. And unfortunately, I can't find the information on that right now. But anyways, if you get the chance, Modifius Mutant Year Zero, highly recommend it. But in this, we're we're a group of 5 individuals who are, you know, navigating an apocalyptic world and trying to make our home sort of city slightly technologically advanced beyond, we want to make sure we have a steady clean water supply and steady clean food supply. And, we want to, be able to improve technology and improve, so we can use, you could work your way up to the point. Well, you could work your way up to a very huge point, but we're trying to just work our way up to being able to put together like older vehicles that you kind of have to piece them together and get them to run. You'll be able to do stuff like that to shorten your time driving through the wastelands to get to places and discover things. But you have to work as a team. But as you build things up, other people, of course, want to tear things down. So there's a lot of political intrigue to a certain degree, I guess. And working together, and because you can't survive on your own, there's just no way. So having a team, and the way it's structured too is everybody has a buddy in the group, somebody that they are close friends with. So it really tries to develop that team dynamic right away, so nobody kind of goes rogue, because you will not survive on your own. It just won't happen. So very fun game, but everybody having different, like my character's highly intelligent, and then we've got somebody who's very dumb but an incredible fighter, and we've got somebody who's like the face from the A-Team, and we've got a diverse group of people that all come together to do a thing, but each one of us has a different level of comfort of letting go and role playing the character that they've got. Anessa hasn't done a whole lot of that, so she's kind of learning her way to kind of let go and try to be a character. And then you've got like Jess and Rob, who have done improv and acting and stuff like that, who no problem. And I'm somewhere in between. I'm more towards probably Rob and Jess's side. But and then we've got another guy, Brett, who's absolutely wonderful as his character, and he's entertaining as hell. You just want to let him go and do his thing, and it's just fun to watch. So you got all these people with different levels and abilities to role play, and it's just really cool to interact with. Now, what are some of your experiences with putting a group together and finding people's different abilities to just kind of let go in game?
Boy, I've had a lot of them. Because I've done a lot of stuff at cons and shows and stuff like that, which has been great. But of the groups I put together, people I play with multiple times, where I can see them growing into their characters, stuff like that, man. A group I played with in college was the first guys to ever play Mistrunner, the very first ever editions of Mistrunner. That was a lot of fun, seeing them playing a role that was new to me as well, and watching them grow into it and unlocking abilities that I never originally intended, which is cool. It's one of the cool things I love. Is one of the things I love running my games at cons is when I see people who do things that I'm like, yes, that's exactly why I designed my system the way I did. This is why my setting works this way, because people will do things where I'm like, yes. Like, in Mistrunner, I have such an open, free-form magic system where, you study a school of magic, you study fire. Yes, I have sample spells in the book, but pretty much if it can be done with heat or fire and you study School of Fire, you can try it. And I had one guy in a game session I was running, and they had to recover this book. And the bad guy got on the boat, and he's sailing away. And they're like, how do we get to him? The one of the pregens they did not take was the water mage. So they had a guy who had fire. And he's like, well, and they're like, well, just blast the boat. He goes, if I blast the boat, then the book will either burn up or it'll sink into the sea. not good for a book. Either way, fire or water are bad for books. So then he goes, could I like create like a cushion of steam and jet myself across the water? I'm like, dude, you can try that. Absolutely. And he paid what he needed to for the spell, rolled his dice, and it's like, yeah, he shot himself across the water and hopped up on the boat. It was brilliant. I'm like, that's what I love is seeing people who do things that before they played the game never would have ever thought to do, but they brought something special to that character where it's like, yes, this is what this character can do. It's not just I have a bunch of these numbers on this sheet. What are these? What can I do with these numbers? And that's what I love is seeing people who come up with these cool ways to take these numbers and do things, and seeing people who can really play a character and not. One of my least favorite things is when someone does something dickish, and then just goes, "I'm just playing my character."
Yeah.
Now, if it is in context of the character, like if you're playing, well, like I played in one of Randy's GURPS games, I was basically like the face man in a GURPS transhuman space. And dude, I'm like, I'm gonna try to seduce the president of this planet we're on, and I almost pulled it off. And I'm like, that's the kind of cool stuff. But then I like know other guys that just like they're like, yeah, I'm gonna mouth off to the king. I'm like, really? Well, that's just how my character is. I'm like, your character may be a jerk, but he has a 17 intelligence and a 15 wisdom. No one who's that smart and that wise thinks that I can badmouth the king in his courtroom in front of all his guards and not have something bad happen. That's just my character. No, it's not. Yeah, no. You're trying to act tough because you think I won't kill you. You're wrong. I will kill you. I'm not one of those DMs who's like, well, I don't want to hurt the players. I don't want to hurt you. But dude, if you give me a stick and say, please hit me as hard as you can, and I say, are you sure? And you say, yeah, dummy, do it. Well, okay, then I'm probably going to do it. But I love those moments when people can just really live their character and breathe life into a character that you would not have thought that they would have done.
Yeah, as a storyteller, it's fun to watch people grow. There's no two ways about that. And achieve yeah, I hate to equate it to like parenthood, but it's fun to watch your kids grow up. Start out trying something, they dig it, you encourage them, and they achieve wonderful things and maybe reach goals that they have or whatnot. That's really satisfying. And if role playing is your thing, it's cool to watch people make your game. I think what I really want to say is really participate in making the story together as a group, and people finding their way, getting comfortable, and contributing even more and making the game even better because they're more comfortable or more willing to share and make that game better and bigger. And that's really what it's all about. The more that you can let go and relax and play, the better the game will eventually become. And that's not saying that, shame on you for not being able to do that right out of the gate. Nobody can do that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Unless they've had theater or improv training. I mean, if you have none of that and you've never role played, you've never done theater, you've never done anything like that, don't ever think that you're just going to, slide right in there and be the best ever. It just really normally doesn't work out that way. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's rare. So, just like anything else, practice, patience with yourself and with others, and things will happen. So, and hopefully they will be good things that you will be telling stories about for years to come. On that note, we are going to wrap things up, I think, here. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other listeners of this Galactic Network podcast 24 hours a day, go to gncasts.com/signup. We'll add you to our Slack team so you'll have the ability to interact with us in real time. Again, you can go to gncasts.com/signup. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, go to gncasts.com/adventure. If you have a question or comment about anything that you've heard on this Galactic Network podcast, email adventure@gncasts.com. Again, adventure@gncasts.com. You can leave a voicemail message or text message by calling or sound like an old man, or by using that text machine, 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966, or you can go to gncasts.com/contact. We do read, listen to, and appreciate all of your feedback. Please subscribe to this Galactic Network podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe. There you can see the listing of not only Adventure Party, but Podcast of Terror and all the other shows that we have available. You can also search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere podcasts are offered. And finally, I want to thank Mark Wooldridge from Central Battery Music Works for our theme music. Thank you, Mark. Thanks to Glenn, once again, for joining me and talking about games, gaming, and all things related. Where can people find out more about you or about your game, Mistrunner?
You can find me on YouTube with the B-Movie Bunker. I'm currently doing the 31 Days of Horror. You can find me on Facebook with the B-Movie Bunker, Guy in a Bunker Productions, Mistrunner the RPG, Demon Eater the RPG, Apocalypse How the card game. Find me on guyinabunker.com or just follow me on Twitter @guyinabunker.
You are the BFD, sir.
Busy fucking dude.
All right. Well, thank you one and all for joining us on the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.